2012, Amber Montoya, a homeowner in Lake Seminole, Florida, awoke early in the morning one day in 2022 to someone trying to break into their house. They discovered a woman unlocking the front door after smashing through its window with a hammer, causing an estimated $400 in damages. Prepared to do whatever it took to protect themselves and their residents, the homeowner confronted the intruder with a gun and told her to leave. Jackson County deputies responded to the residence after receiving a call about a suspicious female, possibly under the influence of drugs, walking around in the area. They identified the suspect as 35-year-old New Mexico woman named Amber Montoya, who reportedly has a lengthy criminal history spanning 5 states. She was charged with burglary and criminal mischief. Jackson County Sheriff Donald Edenfield used the incident as an opportunity to remind the public that this type of behavior won't be tolerated and encouraged residents to defend themselves and their property by any means necessary. 11. Candy shop chaos. London police found themselves at the center of a widespread mockery in 2023 when footage of a woman taking on 2 cops at once went viral. According to some reports, the 26-year-old suspect was accused of stealing candy from a newsstand, while police later claimed that they responded to the scene over allegations that she had assaulted 3 people. As a growing crowd formed at the scene with their cell phone cameras rolling, the suspect could be seen grabbing one officer's ponytail and swinging her around by her hair. She appeared to handle the cop with ease, despite being in a pair of flip-flops and outnumbered by the responding officers. In one part of the video, she effortlessly pushed away a male officer before shoving a female officer into him. The woman stormed off down the street, but was chased down by the officers as several more cops arrived at the scene to help with the takedown. A second clip that appeared online showed an entire group of officers surrounding the suspect as they subdue her into custody. In a statement, the Metropolitan Police accused the woman of continuing to act aggressive after her arrest and racially abusing the arresting officers. She allegedly assaulted another member of law enforcement while in custody and broke their nose. The crazed candy thief was placed on a mental health hold, and it's unclear what became of the case. 10. Selma Elmore. In 2010, a 44-year-old Ohio woman named Selma Elmore flagged down a cop in the Cincinnati suburb of Laughlin and asked if there were any warrants out for her arrest. When the officer, Dan Lyons, told Elmore that she did have a warrant, she allegedly tried to run. She was also accused of shoving Lyons into a building before backup arrived and the police were able to take her into custody. Elmore was arrested on the outstanding warrant for failing to pay a fine in connection with a drug conviction, and she was hit with an additional charge of resisting arrest. 9. James Summers. Staff members at a Denny's diner in Madison, Wisconsin were extremely confused when a man wearing a tie and carrying a briefcase entered the restaurant one evening in early 2012 and claimed he was the new manager. The manager on duty said that the man must be mistaken, but he claimed that he had worked for the chain for 30 years. While the mysterious man went to work cooking himself a burger and fries, the real manager called her superiors and asked about the situation that was unfolding. After receiving confirmation that there was no new manager and that the man was an imposter, she called 911. When the woman confronted the suspect about how she knew he wasn't who he claimed to be, he reportedly didn't have much of a reaction and proceeded to pour himself a soda. He also began to chow down on his food while continuing to insist that the manager had somehow not gotten the memo that he was working there now. Police identified the suspect as 52-year-old James Summers. He reportedly cooperated with responding officers, but as he was being led away from the scene, he shouted, "This is why you don't dine and dash, kiddies." While searching Summers, officers found a stun gun in his belt. Summers was charged with fraud, hotel or restaurant keeper, disorderly conduct, drug possession, and possessing an electric weapon. A police spokesperson said that although the suspect was not a legitimate Denny's employee, he appeared to have experience cooking cheeseburgers. 8. Kadriana Hall and Serenati Banks. 24-year-old Kadriana Hall and 19-year-old Serenati Banks had allegedly just fled a nail supply store in Riverside County, California with $600 worth of merchandise when one of the women realized that she had dropped her phone at the crime scene. According to reports, the theft was committed in broad daylight in September 2023. The suspect who dropped her phone returned to the store and demanded the device, which was also holding her driver's license and credit card. The owner offered to give the woman her phone back if she returned the stolen merchandise. It was a smart move, since the phone was worth more than the shoplifted items. But the suspect was apparently infuriated by the offer. Instead of making the trade, the store owner said that the suspect threw him to the ground and roughed up a pregnant cashier, then left the store a second time. About an hour after the theft, police found the suspects sitting in their vehicle outside their home, about a half mile, 0.8 kilometers from the store, with the stolen merchandise allegedly sitting in plain sight. Hall and Banks were taken into custody on suspicion of shoplifting. The women were released on a $5,000 bond, pending the outcome of their cases. In a Facebook post, the Murrieta police mentioned how it would have been so much easier for the suspects to just pay for the merchandise using the credit card that was found with the phone. 7. Patrick Vander Maiden Miller. In April 2023, sheriff's deputies in Flagler County, Florida, caught a man allegedly trying to assemble a stolen Razor scooter right outside the Target he had just taken it from. According to authorities, witnesses reported seeing 28-year-old Patrick Vander Maiden Miller pushing a cart as he strolled right past cashiers. In body cam footage captured by law enforcement, the suspect did not respond when a deputy asked him if he paid for the scooter. When it became clear that the deputy was not going to leave without having a conversation, Miller put down the tool he was using. A report stated that Miller eventually ended up admitting to stealing the scooter because he was homeless and needed a way to get around. He was charged with petty theft along with possession of drug paraphernalia for a burned straw and pipe that were found in his pocket. And instead of getting a free ride on his stolen scooter, Miller was transported to the local jail and booked into custody on a $2,000 bond. 6. Anthony Deshawn Goddard. Bail bond agent Nima Cropper's car was stolen from one of the most unlikely places in early 2023. Just moments before she exited the Mecklenburg County Jail in North Carolina, an inmate who had just been released on bond had driven off in her SUV. Based on surveillance footage, investigators identified the accused car thief as Anthony Deshawn Goddard. Given her line of work, Cropper has seen a lot of crazy things, but this took it to a whole new level. Speaking with local station WSOC-TV, she described Goddard as the city's boldest and dumbest criminal. It wasn't the first time Goddard was accused of stealing a vehicle. In fact, based on his record, car theft seems to be his crime of choice. Cropper was infuriated by the situation. She told WSOC that she had already used her connections within the bail bond community to ensure that Goddard was blacklisted, and that he would have an extremely hard time finding someone willing to bond him out the next time he lands behind bars. And since he seems to end up in jail often, it wasn't very smart of him to steal a car out of the parking lot, since there was a good chance it belonged to someone who worked there or was associated with the facility in some way. When the story broke, Goddard was still at large, and Cropper's vehicle had not been recovered. It's unclear whether he was ever captured. 5. Samara Nopa. In February 2023, a man left a Welsh courtroom and got behind the wheel of his car just moments after a judge revoked his license for a year. Police in North Wales touted him as their dumb criminal of the week. But it wasn't the first time something like this had happened in the United Kingdom. After being banned from driving for 2 years by a British judge in November 2020, 39-year-old hotel housekeeper Samara Nopa got into her vehicle and drove away. She had just been warned that she would face jail time if she got caught behind the wheel. but it wasn't enough to stop her. Nopa had also driven to court that day, despite having been banned while her case for hitting another vehicle head-on was ongoing. She had never held a valid license in the UK, yet was spared jail time despite her repeated offenses. After being caught driving home from court, she admitted to driving without a license and driving without insurance. The judge imposed a suspended jail sentence and ordered Nopa to pay a £1,000 $1,200 fine. 4. Jeremy Welshins. A 33-year-old Arkansas man named Jeremy Welshins had the honor of being recognized as the Dumb Criminal of the Week by the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office in July of 2023, after he allegedly stole a van and brazenly drove it past the local sheriff's station and jail. In a Facebook post, the agency accused Welshins of taking his crimes to a whole new level, describing him as a habitual thief. According to law enforcement, Welshins stole a U-Haul cargo van that had been rented out to someone else. Instead of keeping a low profile, he was seen openly driving it around on what the sheriff described as a sightseeing tour across the city and county. The Facebook post went on to say that it didn't take long for investigators to catch up with Welshins. He was taken into custody on a felony theft charge and several outstanding warrants from other counties. 3. Gabriel Morales. Police in Waterman, Illinois received an unusual call in July of 2023 from a man who had gotten himself locked in a walk-in freezer. After rescuing 18-year-old Gabriel Morales from the freezer, responding officers naturally wanted to know how he ended up there. Investigators believe that the suspect entered the business through a window after failing to pick a lock on one of the doors. While trying to navigate his way inside, he somehow got locked in the freezer, leaving him with no choice but to call for help. Morales was charged with 1 count each of burglary and possession of burglary tools. He was booked into the DeKalb County Jail to await a bond hearing. The status of the case and whether he's still being held in custody are unclear. 2. Jasmine CLA. In December 2011, United States Department of Homeland Security agents received a tip about alleged drug activity at a Pizza Hut restaurant, ironically located near a hotel called the Smuggler's Inn in Washington State, right by the Canadian border. While performing surveillance, agents witnessed a man with vanity license plates reading "Smuggler" driving a woman from the Pizza Hut to the inn. At the hotel, agents questioned the woman, Jasmine CLA, who consented to a search of the vehicle. Inside, they found 9 bricks of cocaine. After being caught with the drugs, CLA claimed that a man named Gurjit Singh Sandhu had offered to pay her $4,000 to pick up a package, transport it to the inn, and leave it outside the door to her room. She was staying at one of the hotel's gangster-themed rooms, known as the Captain Suite, which sits just 164 feet, 50 meters from the Canadian border. The agents decided to continue watching while the situation played out. Later that night, they saw 2 men cross illegally from Canada into the U.S. As they approached the package sitting outside CLA's door, agents moved in and arrested them. The men were identified as Sandhu, who had given CLA the instructions, and another suspect named Narminder Kalar. All suspected parties were arrested, including CLA, and the trio pleaded guilty to their respective roles in the drug trafficking scheme. 1. Eric Lee King. When a police officer in Eagan, Minnesota saw a man drop a box of candy on the ground one day in 2011, he tried to alert the man, who just kept on walking. The cop then noticed that the man's pants appeared to be falling down, and he was walking funny. At that point, the officer got out of his car and confronted the man, who continued to ignore him and kept walking. Later identified as 21-year-old Eric Lee King, the man began squatting and reaching forward. While taking him into custody for safety reasons, the cop noticed that the suspect had a large plastic-wrapped item in his pants. King was allegedly carrying an array of items, including a 19-inch TV, a TV remote, power cords, a container of brake fluid, and a few Xanax pills. He was charged with felony drug possession and 1 misdemeanor count of shoplifting. Thanks for watching. Would you rather be in the passenger seat of your friend's car while they throw an embarrassing tantrum at the cops during a traffic stop? Or be in the company of an extremely drunk friend who has a tragic meltdown in the middle of a crowded bar or restaurant for no discernible reason? Let us know in the comments below, and remember to subscribe. See you soon. Bye.